Moderating our session. Before I get into some of the reflections in terms of some of the excellent content that we heard over the course of the last hour, we do have a poll for our Latin America session. In Latin America, what's the most important energy solution to emphasize to the public in order to get them engaged in a post-COVID-19 sustainable recovery plan? And boom, up we have the results here. So overwhelmingly for energy efficiency and improved consumer habits, and then followed by distributed energy resources. I have to say I'm a little bit surprised on nothing coming through on new and innovative technology, because I think we heard a lot about that over the course of the last hour. My own reflections on that was I think it was interesting, obviously, to get the very kind of direct impression with regard to what's happened to the economies in the last number of months, and obviously the economic consequences of that. So to a certain extent, again, kind of linking back to our resilience discussion that we had just prior to that, I was assuming there'd be an agenda of survivability, and so therefore for me it was actually a very pleasant surprise that I felt that the kind of focus of the three presentations that we got was, I just wrote it down, an opportunity to embrace change. I felt that, you know, what we heard from the different presenters was that actually the scale of the change is well understood. The scale of the change has been modeled, you know, so to speak, in terms of what needs to happen between now and 2050. There was an acceptance of the link between energy policy and industrial policy and societal policy, to link those together, because it was evident that the agenda of innovation, the agenda of technology, the agenda of digital would actually bring economic benefit to the countries involved. It would bring new opportunities for job creation. It would bring opportunity in terms of new businesses and new ways for the private sector to get very engaged with the development of energy in the Latin American markets that were talked about today. So in that sense, I think it brought forward a number of the innovation agendas that we have talked about over the course of the day. And it was great to actually see very real plans that have been put in place in those countries for driving those agendas forward. We heard about hydrogen and the possibilities that that can bring. We heard about the electrification of public transport in Chile and the importance of that. We heard about the recognition that there will be difficulties in driving the agenda forward in the context of changing the household stock and making that much more efficient in terms of the materials used, et cetera, but again, that had been thought through. So again, I saw this as an opportunity to embrace change. I felt that there were abundant opportunities, there was a link to a sustainable agenda, and also I felt that there was a call for investment in very viable businesses as they were described over the course of the last hour. Just another kind of a little note to self, I felt there was also the cue for a platform for redesign 2020, which was, again, I believe, a website that one of the presenters highlighted, which was bringing together new ideas around the way in which the energy system could transition, so that we could share those ideas from different countries. I thought that was a fantastic idea. I hadn't seen it, and it certainly be something that I'll be looking at over the course of the next couple of days. So once again, thank you everyone for the last hour. It was good to bring a regional agenda and bring that alive for us in terms of those opportunities that were set out. I've been asked just to pull together some reflections. We started early this morning. Certainly for me, it felt very, very early, and we're now coming to the last half hour or so of the first day of World Energy Week Live. I hope all of you have, as I said at the beginning of the day, found it insightful. I hope all of you have learnt something from this, and I hope some of you have also had new knowledge that you might not agree with, but you're going to kind of digest and leverage in your networking opportunities that the platform, the Hopin platform, has provided you. And I do hope that networking opportunity has been useful for you as well. So what are my key reflections? And I think, again, the use and the value of sessions like this is that they bring disparate information, disparate insight together into one place. So it allows you to think through a myriad of different ideas that are going to be crucially important for us to encapsulate in our thinking as we think about the journey over the course of the next number of years. So again, we had energy transition, the 4Ds, very much central to the World Energy Council's thinking. Angela introduced that at the start of the day. We heard about the emergence of a new energy system, new energy sources, whether they're hydro, maybe a bit of a renaissance as far as nuclear is concerned. We heard about the importance of democratization of an energy system that shouldn't just be for monolithic large organizations in terms of the production side. It should be a new energy system that emerges with that. How this new energy system will not be delivered by singularly large monolithic organizations. Pretty well everyone from Siemens, from all the other organizations talked about how important collaboration is. In other words, the complexity, the new technologies, the new value chains, the new link with the energy consumer and understanding their needs much more brings new challenges for all of us. And the only way we can deal with that is to collaborate much more in this new ecosystem as it emerges. As we've talked about a lot today, the implications of COVID, we also talked about the recovery packages a number of governments are putting in place and how they have linked those recovery packages with the investment in a new energy system, the green agenda, the Green Deal, whatever you wish to call it, or as we heard just now in Latin America, a new stimulus, a new catalyst for change in that energy system, something that we can all embrace and understand. We heard also the importance that in the past, we have perhaps been dominated by the voices of large energy organizations. And in the future, and it links very much with the new strategy for the World Energy Council, we need to bring in the voice of consumers of energy. This new voice needs to emerge. Words like humanize energy that Angela talked about, very important for us to take on. And critically, she mentioned the issue of energy literacy. There is no way in which we're going to deal with the complexity of this transition if we don't deal with energy literacy. The biases that all of us hold today are holding us back, and we need to get rid of them. And the only way we'll do that is by enhanced energy literacy to all of us within the system. The Middle East regional session, again, highlighted some of the challenges some of those resource-dominant countries are going to face in a world where there may potentially be some stranded assets from the hydrocarbon side. But we heard a very upbeat response to that, upbeat in terms of the circular carbon economy, the paper that CAPSARC will be launching this week at the G20 Energy Ministers Summit. The importance of CCS and how the Middle East could be well placed to be the center of CCS. The exporter of renewable energy was the counter to the hydrocarbon agenda that Nasser was talking about. In other words, with the availability of basically renewable energy sources in the Middle East, why not it become an exporter of that capability elsewhere, of those electrons to both East Africa and into Europe, and maybe across the Gulf into Pakistan and beyond. And linked to that was the notion that we need to change from being a capital exporter in the Middle East to actually leveraging that capital locally in the Middle East, in the GCC countries as we go forward. A fantastic one-to-one with Angela on Africa and the whole humanizing energy agenda. Again, it came across just the scale of the challenge that we have. You know, when we talk about energy systems in kind of OECD dominant countries, you sometimes miss just the reality that there could be 30 to 40 million people still, basically cooking every night using charcoal or firewood that they've collected. And it's that scale of the challenge that I think we had a great discussion in that one-to-one. It highlighted those realities. It highlighted the requirement for policy innovation, and it also highlighted for me the importance when we think about this agenda of linking the different sectors, the sector coupling that was talked about, and the importance of driving that forward. what about our post-pandemic future? And, basically what does that mean? And I think, when I was discussing that with Angela at our session, she highlighted the fact that, that discussion brought forward the contrasts that we see in the different countries, in the different regions. We had Leo pushing forward that in Germany, this was the moment to accelerate the move to a new energy system as quickly as possible, for us not to delay, for us not to constrain capital as we go forward. Counter that with the Asia agenda, which again was dealing with legacy systems and issues that would threaten the ability maybe of moving on that energy transition. So you have different contrasts of legacy and different contrasts in terms of the crossover agendas that might be available to us in those different parts of the world. Recently, we did the piece on resilience. Again, I won't go too much into that since my words are only about an hour old. But again, I found that a very helpful session because it helped me think about the different altitudes, whether they're at the geopolitical level or at the 350 million people in India that need to be provided affordable energy and accessible energy in the future, and just the huge challenge of that and what resilience might mean. It also helped me understand that there are operational aspects of resilience that we need to think about, but increasingly we in the industry will need to think about ESG resilience agendas and how we get ahead of that as we go forward. And then finally, again, as we finished off with our session on Latin America, a session of optimism, I would say, a session of hope, a session of where a new energy agenda linked with the consumer, linked with the new technologies can drive industrial growth, can drive job creation, can drive innovation and technology advancement in a way that we've not seen before. But again, for me, critical for today has been the recognition that we must humanize the energy agenda. We must bring in the voice of the consumer. We must ensure that we try and understand the demand side of the equation as much as we kind of threat around what we need to do on the supply side. And I know from the World Energy Council's point of view, this will be a critical agenda that we need to drive forward over the course of the next 2 days. So again, I hope all of you enjoyed the last number of hours. I certainly did. I learned a lot, as I always do at these sessions. I hope you did as well. So thank you for joining, and I'll be finishing off in a minute. Tomorrow we'll be starting again to use local time. We're starting early at 7 o'clock in the morning. Etna, my co-host, will be taking over responsibilities first thing tomorrow at 7. We hope to look forward. We do look forward to you rejoining us on the platform. But before we go there, we have two components left to our agenda today. Basically, every 3 years, as many of you will know, the World Energy Council hosts the World Energy Congress. This is a flagship event that's held in different cities around the world, and many of you will know that the next Congress upcoming is in St. Petersburg in 2022. Member committees of the World Energy Council, an organization, are encouraged and invited today and tomorrow to present their case to host the next World Energy Congress. And what we're going to do now is to switch across to Portugal, to Lisbon, Portugal, and we're going to hear basically an update from that particular member committee. And then just to remind you that tomorrow the second one will be done at the same time. So again, I'm going to transition across to there. I'm going to remind all of you, there's the networking opportunity, there's the hashtag WEW2020. Please, all of you go onto that, and I look forward to seeing and participating with you tomorrow. Thank you.